Hello, hello. Welcome to a quick discussion about the latest gameplay reveal for Dead Island 2. And I thought I'd just come back to Dead Island 1 just to give people a little bit of a refresher. For those that complain about the trailer, there's not many, thankfully. But there's had a few complaints about, stilted combat and that sort of lock-in animations, which I think lock-in animations is something I do want to talk a little bit more about. I do think that's a legitimate concern when it comes to using skills, finishes, and that sort of stuff. There was a sense you could feel from the game where you could do these, grab the enemy, punch them in the face, or finish them off with a special move sort of stuff. And it was like, is that at the core of Dead Island? Well, yes and no. I can understand why they wanted to do that. And again, we talk about the physics and the decapitation and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so I think it looked good. Straight out of the park. The gunplay, considerably better than whatever you want to call this. So we had to blow off limbs with the gun, which was something impressive with the flesh system. And let's just let's just grab a hive up. This is more shitty. There. So one of the things the enemies would do in Dead Island was they'd lock you into an animation. So they grab you, if they weren't going to go for a swing. Yep. See? They lock you in an animation, and you had a little QTE to get out of it. As for health bars, yes, they had health bars. Like in the old game. So, I think anyone expecting a ultra transformative experience going from Dead Island 1 Riptide to Dead Island 2 is, I don't know, a bit delusional. Managing expectations is a big part of game development, something that companies fail to do on numerous occasions and leave themselves in a position where they can't defend the game they release because people's expectations are so exaggerated and crazy, and they think, oh my goodness, it's going to be this reformation of what is the game, how it can function and how the player experience can be created. So if that's through, repetitive questing that sort of permeates all games, especially, larger open world ones, this sort of, yes, it is a new game. No, it's not a massive revolution. There's big changes, with the elemental stuff, with the graphics, with the flesh system. So you can feel your impact on the enemies a bit more acutely. Let's just jump in. Getting that different skill card sort of system, I think, was an interesting addition. I'll be interested to see how that sort of plays out.
Oh, fuck. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Dude, no swearing. It's on YouTube.
You want to come with me? I'm gathering any supplies I can find at the water sports rental kiosk.
So one of the things I'm hoping they really improve is the voice acting for the NPCs was average. I think average is being generous. So that's something that from the cutscenes were massively improved to this game's cutscenes.
You can use to repair your weapons.
Yeah, thanks, mate. So and then the other point, of course, is the whole loot system, because there's a huge amount of loot in Dead Island. It's one of those things that I suppose if people look at the series, they're not thinking primarily about loot, but loot is a big deal. And being able to repair all your weapons repetitively was a fabulous system. So there's a lot of comfort in Dead Island in that it's not terribly punishing with its systems, but having said that, the combat can be punishing if you are careless. But if you're not careless, you work your way through it, you know where all the enemies are, you can handle it. So we had the different elemental stuff. Do we have any fire weapons? Surely I got fire. I got poison weapons. So they're sticking with, caused acidic, or what I call melting with acid. And we've got lightning and fire. Was it fire? Yeah, fire. So we're just keeping the simple stuff. We're carrying over the fundamentals of the previous games, even though there was such a delay and everything. All of that sort of stuff. They are not going too far. And this is the remastered version, so this isn't how it originally looked. Again, you just gotta take it with a grain of salt. The corpses and all the bodies have been improved massively on this version, the PlayStation 4 version, originally PlayStation 3 release. But one thing I really wanted to talk about is I felt, from the gameplay trailer, I didn't feel...
How'd you like that can of whoop ass?
I didn't feel as afraid as Dead Island has made me in the past. So even though I'm just not as scared anymore, but I just get startled, even knowing where all the enemies are. Sometimes it doesn't come back. Even knowing where all the enemies are, I still get startled. So it's one of these things that you sort of, you adjust. Oh, yeah. But I do like the return to, well, I like the LA. I like the world. I like the blue sky. It's not as bright as Benoit. Benoit is, again, situated in Papua. We're not going to talk about the details of Benoit, but I wanted to talk a little bit more. Let's talk about some effects. So I chuck this Molotov. So we're going to have a vast improvement in terms of the effects, which, if you look at this, the fire and things, all this is very... Oh, thanks for that, mate. It's a bit exaggerated at times. So I'm wondering how they're going to balance it. I'm just thinking from the gameplay, it seems a lot better than the original, which is what you'd hope for. But again, expectations. You just waste bullets. Guns are so trash in this.
Don't fucking mess
They're good
with
in
me.
Riptide, not so good in the original here. And I'm interested in the way the classes work, because from what they showed, let's go on the skill tree here. From what they showed, there was a card system for abilities, and they didn't talk about a skill tree per se. They talked about a card system. So I'm just wondering, the 6 different characters you choose from, do they actually have this? They just carried over this previous system, or is it totally gone and it's just the card system? And if you can clarify that in the comments, it'd be great. If you think you've interpreted it in a way that I haven't interpreted it. But you should have basic health increase, I would have thought, as a given as you level up. And you can just do health increase as as just a granted to all characters. But I did really like the RPG-ness. It's not too heavy in Dead Island, where you just get stamina reductions, which are meaningful. So they're meaningful things here. They're 10%, 20%, 30%. They're not 1%, 2%, 3%. For the majority of the big things, but it's stuff like extra slots for inventory. I like big inventory. They didn't talk about that at all, which is kind of annoying. I'm like, that's one of the big issues, is being able to carry enough things. So I'm already 10 of 18. So whether or not there's going to be huge amounts of loot, whether or not you're just going to leave stuff on the ground, you're going to pick up crap, you're going to repair things, you're going to upgrade things, because there is a loose item rarity system in Dead Island, because depending on the level of the weapon, it still can be useful. And again, sometimes you find something good and just keep using that for ages. It's not too, again, like I said, not too punishing. And you don't have to switch out so often, but maybe after a little while, you sort of, as you progress through the game, you do find better stuff. There's quest items. So whether or not the quest item rewards become repetitive, whether they're randomized, stuff like that, little details like that, it's the sort of thing I'd like to know a little more about. The map and the systems involved in that, we'll see how that works with LA, how big it is the question. And whether you can enter all the houses. Again, let's just run. The healing ability with the, pushing the enemies away, that was nice. Let's just go up, have a little run. Yeah, I see you guys, it's fine. Stamina wasn't... Do they even have the stamina bar? Or any of the bars on the screen for that? Because we do have the 2 bars for the zombies, which is the red and the blue, which is their stamina and their health, which is carried over. And again, there's so much carryover that is, I think, a positive thing, but others who are fresher to the series, who haven't played the originals, may interpret that as just outdated game mechanics or things that don't look that good, UI elements that could be refined, and they go, this looks like an older style game. And they'll look at the dodging. I think the dodging is going to be a big part of it. So, where you can just jump from left to right as you dodge. and it's just it's not the most fluid thing in the world, because again, you're going up. But it does do the job. And then you got your healing. And you got your basic QTE. Whether they repeat those, or that's the kind of skill you can... That's the kind of thing I'd like to be able to change, is the QTE. Whether you can just remove that with a skill. That means,
that did some damage.
you can do the insta-kill for grabs and counter things. Just grab that. And whether you can do unarmed and those sorts of things. There's so much more they could talk about. Again, they've only got a limited size and time for the presentation. And just talking about the presentation itself, I was very happy to see, you know, the gameplay. It is brave. It does sort of foster this feeling of, oh, maybe, you know, it's safe to pre-order the game now. But I'm kind of still like, no, don't do that. So in that regard, I don't recommend anyone pre-order Dead Island 2. I can't possibly recommend that. No one can possibly recommend that out of the kindness of their heart and their soul. You can't look at that and go, yeah, it looks like it's pretty much done. You know, almost done. You can't just go, yeah, you can pre-order that. No, no, no. It's pre-ordered before. Time has passed. You've been let down. Just, oh, why does it do that sometimes? Just let it come back all the time. Oh, see, look, the arms come off. I want more variation with the sound effects, I think is a big thing as well. Which is what looked good about the game, was the variation in zombie. The zombie variety looked really good. And that was just like, oh, because there's so many different ones, and they talked about 1,000 different zombies, and again, themed for the environment they're in, which they did do.
Oh yeah, bringing the pain, baby.
In Riptide, they did a bit more with, like, when you go into the tunnels, the Japanese tunnels, and when you go into a couple of different areas. But it's, again, the more variation situationally. But it is, again, at its core, a melee game. So I hope that, you know, melee is still viable. It looked pretty good with the big hammer and cutting the limbs and things. And it's just... But I didn't notice... Did you notice there's any XP gained during play? But yeah, well, interested to see how they work. The system, whether you do get points of cutting off limbs or breaking bones. Whether, you know, they probably... I imagine they will, but maybe they won't. Who knows? But you'll still get the damage numbers. So there's still sort of RPG type... Yeah. Thanks, mate. Elements. So chop that off. And whether or not they have the stamina be as punishing, or you be, you know... I just, you know. But back to the negatives, I suppose. It really does come back to... I think it's this. It's just the dodge. And the movement and the swinging, and it actually being a game of... You have to be careful. You can't just carelessly... You just can't just go around going, swinging your sword. You've got to pick your moment, gauge the distance, swing the sword at the right time. It's not... I mean, you can be knocked back, someone sprinting... Get the fist out. But it is balancing the engagements. So, and it's just interesting to see, for me, the maximum number of zombies in an environment. Whether or not they do, you know, just say, oh, just hope and use Molotov, and they sort of force you to do that. Or whether they say you can take on 100 bloody zombies right at you, and you're just carving your way through them, and you're playing with someone else, and you're both surrounded by zombies, and you're just going crazy and trying to stay alive, and, you know, got each other's back. And whether or not the multiplayer is balanced, because that's one of the other things we can talk about with Dead Island, is the multiplayer was never... It was interesting. So you could... Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And what I mean by that is you could go in a game, random online game, join someone who's level 70... or 40, 50, 60, or just 10 or 20 levels above you, and the zombies were to be 10 or 20 levels above you, and you couldn't kill them. You just literally couldn't do enough damage to kill them. It just took forever. So you just knock them on the ground. You need to have the stomp, which is again a lock-in animation where you could stomp an enemy's head on the ground, which is something that the game has a couple of these. The stomping, jumping on the head. I mean, in other games they stomp. So it's going to be a mix for me. What matters is, again, it's keeping the heart of the previous games, which I think it is, and whether that's a detriment, it's not. I don't know how widely it's going to appeal, but if it has any chance, I think it will be diminished by the combat. I think it will, when people play it, they will find that they don't think it's as smooth, and that's kind of like its legacy. Its origin is in that, and it's kind of makes me sad that I think it's good. I don't have any problem with the combat, but some people might, and they may think that it's bad, and they'll think that the previous games are bad, and they'll be like, ugh. And then I'll be like, oh, you're missing out, because once you get going, once you're in the heavy to and fro, you do your dodge set left and right, and you do position yourself well against the bigger boys and girls. It is fun. It is a fun hack and slash. Literal hack and slash. So I like that they're still, believing in that. Even if it does force maybe a more niche. But again, with the competition where gaming is at the moment, I think it can still do well, because I do feel as though there is a bereftness of games for consoles in particular, I will say. And it's for PC too, because every game gets a fair, rigorous testing. Everyone talks about every game that comes out. So, every, somewhat big. And I feel like Dead Island is in that somewhat big range because of the delays and the anticipation and the pre-ordering and the drama, all that sort of stuff. It is in the eye of the wider public. So it is good to see on the IGN video, which I'll put a link in the description later, that, it's 600, I think probably 700k plus views, and that people are mostly positive because the people who watch it are interested in it, and they're not trying to hate on the game actively. They're just going, oh, we're just desperate for it to come out. Because you had Dying Light 2, it didn't live up to expectations in some regards. I think it's better now, but it should have been like that from launch, and even then I don't think it's quite there. But again, that's more about what is the difference between a Dead Island and a Dying Light? It's just a different feeling, a different attitude. And it's slightly more optimistic, or slightly more chaotic, slightly more zany. And more fun. And I feel like that's what I'm glad that they've embraced that with LA. And that you are in a zombie apocalypse, but it's a post-apocalyptic paradise, because you can, do whatever you like. You can kill things, and you can save people, and you can be awesome, and you can blow stuff up, and you can light things on fire and do the electricity on the water, and you can be cool and amazing and a badass. That's the point. You have fun. I feel like Dying Light just leaned too much into depression. They got so up themselves about the personal stories being about more important than the zombies and stuff, and it just blows my mind, especially in the danger side of things, when the NPCs can get from A to B and it's like not a big deal at all, and it's like, there's zombies everywhere. What are you talking about? This world is dangerous, and yet they find a way to make the world seem like it's not dangerous. And now I can make that same criticism for the Walking Dead series, and I feel like the zombies become so much less, and it's like, no, the zombies are an ever-present threat, and they leak into your psyche. And I feel like some of the older zombie movies sort of encapsulate that better. The original Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, they kind of tap into that psychological side, and that sort of, again, leaning on religious elements as well, and as a support, is that it is a hopelessness, but at the same time you still have to take steps forward. You do have to find a world, make a world that you want to live in. And I feel like making a world you want to live in is something that all the zombie games have failed to just get there. They just don't get there. It's like, what zombies need is bloody Minecraft. Because I feel like that's why there are zombies in Minecraft. But it's kind of that intertwining of ideologies here, of you forging your own world, creating your own world, up against the threat. But I feel like Minecraft doesn't have that sort of desolation. It doesn't quite sell its... It doesn't wear it on its sleeve, in a way. So I think that's a really big positive about Minecraft in comparison. But again, totally different games. Will you have building in Dead Island 2? Probably not. I can't expect that. That's a bit ridiculous. But that's kind of where I want to see zombie games go. And you can talk about 7 Days to Die, and that's got its own nuances and graphical things. If that was updated on Unreal Engine 5, I would certainly say that that's a good idea. But whether they could get the money to do that, probably not. But, you know, that would be bloody cool if they did. Imagine that. Imagine 7 Days to Die, but fully looking good. Like, better than this. And I think this looks good in remastered. You know, it's very bright. But, you know, it's nice. I should swing my sword some more. Distract you. Let's run back down. One of the things as well is moderate shift to parkour. So I hope they've done a little bit, because the parkour, the jumping and climbing and things in Riptide and in Dead Island original is awful. It's awful. It's the reason why Dying Light is Dying Light, because they just went, no, we don't like that. And they went, we're going to develop this whole system around climbing and parkour because we don't like the way that the maneuverability of Dead Island is. And then they did that, which was an amazing system. And it's a pity they couldn't coexist, because they didn't have the body targeting, and then you got it now a little bit, but it's just not the same feeling. It really comes back to stamina management. I feel like Dead Island stamina management is right on point, and the satisfaction of the combat is just right in the right spot, and Dying Light's kind of it's not quite there. They couldn't capture that, which again, you could testament to the original developers and their ability to get that worked out. Oh, I should have done the animation for you. Let's knock someone over and I'll show you. So what does this all mean? So don't pre-order. Still no pre-order pass. Don't do that. Just hold back. I'm excited for the game. Very excited for the game. I hope it comes out when they say it'll come out. But then, you know, it's gotten to the point where I suppose, I don't know if other games have done this sort of thing. Maybe they have. I just haven't been in that mindset. But when you hear a delay, you go, okay, it's okay to have a delay. If it's not too long, you go, okay, they want to work on something, we'll give them that chance, because we want the release to be perfect. We want it to come out and be ready. Like, see, Dying Light 2 could have been delayed, and I think it would have been a better game. Because I think the stylistic direction they took was wrong. And it made it more like a Euro RPG than like Dying Light 1, which was odd. Odd to me entirely that they did that. And that's just more like, the second I saw the start menu for Dying Light 2, I was like, oh, why have they gone this direction? And then we sort of changed from there. And it's just sort of... it sells the wrong message, I think. But the story is better than one. One story is abysmal. So one of the things people talk about with rose-tinted glasses was how great Dying Light 1 was, and I'm like, the story was awful. Especially the ending. The ending is so bad in Dying Light 1. It's so depressing. I hate it. Dead Island though, story-wise, let's go talk about story with Dead Island 2. I hope it's not too overbearing. I don't mind having the hope of escape, because that was what, you know, 1 and 2 were all about, was escaping the island. So it was that kind of... And then we had the boat at the end of 2 that does go to LA or somewhere, some shore, and then spreads the virus around the world. The closest being Australia, Indonesia, sort of. It depends on which side of the, again, shitty heavy pipe. Again, that's all just theory as to how it started. I hope they give us a bit more context, but it doesn't really matter, because the story is kind of just supposed to be sort of zany, sort of, oh, and then things happen, people get killed, someone betrays you, all that sort of stuff. It was all colourful and wasn't negative. It was never, you had your boss setups, you had your maybe we'll escape, you had your military people doing military things where you can't trust them, and you had your group.
You're in for an ass whooping.
You had your group of friends working together to escape the zombie apocalypse, or at the same time enjoy it and dominate all the zombies. And they did have the rage thing, which looked identical. I'll be honest. I do. Let's do it. The rage mode, sort of zombie mode. What do you want to call it? It did look absolutely identical. So we had the glowing, we had the enemies. Come on. It did last a bit longer than that, though. Oh! Ooh! Did that not burn? Okay, did good. So yeah, this isn't my original saves. I lost my original PlayStation 3 saves, which is great. But it is what it is. I'm happy to hear if you're in the comments. What do you think? What do you think of Dead Island 2? What do you think of the little gameplay clip on IGN? Do you also think that they chose the absolute wrong person for the voiceover? I'm like, this isn't Lego Worlds. I mean, this isn't bloody, wasn't it? Oh, Disney Adventure or something? Not Disney Adventure. It was no, lockpicking. Let's run. Yeah, it just seemed like it was odd. I felt like it didn't fit the game at all, the voiceover dude. And it's not a knock on him. Again, he's just doing his job. But I just don't think he was the right fit. Because it sounded... I was surprised no one commented about it, but I felt like it sounded too kiddie. Like he was, talking about a kid's game. And the way he was, the high points of the... And now you're going to be killing the zombies with your special attacks. It was like, oh man, what are they doing? I almost had to turn it down. I did turn it down. It was just so bad. It didn't help the game, but at the same time, will it negatively affect the sales and things? Probably not. But you never know. It's these little things need to be ironed out. And look at the corpse there. Look at that. So I'm looking forward to the new zombies. These ones, they're a bit paler. They used to be paler. Don't talk about that. Let me get some more medkits. But I really like the first zone, which is why I'm walking around it. I really like this first area. And then you go to Port Moresby and it's, ugh. But at the same time, it's good. It's scary and there's a lot of fog and... Oh, where did my damn weapon go? There it is. But yeah, so variation in sound effects of the zombies matters to me. All the little interpersonal things. Actually having swimming would be nice, because we can't swim. So yeah, always having shallow water, not actually having pools. Oh, we can swim, can't we? No, let's go to the pool. I swear we can. Can we? Can we go swim? Are they always that shallow? Okay, I'm carrying on a bit too long now. Ah! Having no armor or anything like that, I think that's perfectly fine. I'll be honest, I don't... The armor system in Dying Light, I don't want that in Dead Island. If we can avoid it, I don't want it. I don't care. I'm happy to have... If you're gonna, play lots of multiplayer, I'm happy to have different outfits, like Dead Rising style, where you can just steal them off the clothes rack at the store. I don't want any microtransactions for clothes, because again, it's a first-person game. You shouldn't really be able to do that. That's kind of like Dying Light doing that was kind of stupid. I really don't like that they went that direction. But at least they didn't offer unique weapons that you can only get via DLC stuff. So let's see. Can I swim? No, I can't swim. Okay, so you know swimming. So I would like swimming, if it's possible. If it's too difficult, don't worry about it. But, you know, this can be a beach. See, look, I can't swing fully because they're so close.
This is gonna hurt.
So I do like that there is that kind of gauge distance. So a big part of the game is always managing your space, managing the area around you, making sure enemies don't sneak up on you. Oh, and this is the lock-in animation I'll show. So you got finishing animation, which is fine, nice and quick. Because it's the third stage. Second stage it is slower and you do stomp them. And then third stage you jump on the head. So I do feel like with the animation locks, I'm not sure. I don't really like them. Again, look at this amazing parkour. He's drowning. He's drowning. It always confused me. The zombies can't drown. Like, how can a zombie drown? It's freaking a zombie. It doesn't breathe. Yeah, I don't really understand that fundamental concept. But, and your weapons, the blood doesn't go off. Oh, look at me crouching. This is what it's like underwater. Oh god, that is so bad. So yeah, let's not have this. Let's avoid that. Oh, look at that. Trying to attack an enemy underwater. See, look at this. This is the sort of stuff that we've improved upon. So, I don't want to hear anyone say, oh, it's the same as Dead Island 1. Don't you dare. Don't you dare even say that. Don't you dare even think it. This is Dead Island 1. It's weird. Just a little bit janky here and there. Well, very janky here and there. But it's nice. The combat's smooth. It's always worked well. I mean, you know, you can have little things here and there. The parkour is absolute trash, which is why Dying Light exists. So you can thank... there's like areas you can't go. So like this, you know, I'm not supposed to be here. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I should have died then. Oh well. That's the magic of game design. Oh, what do we get? Energy drinks heal you. So that'll work quite well in
something I can use.
Dead Island 2. So I'm thinking that we'll have... we can have sponsors then. That's how you make money. I reckon that's the better way to go for... In-game sponsorships, I think, is better. And advertising. I've never understood why FIFA and that don't absolutely kill it off the panels and things inside the game. They just blows my mind how stupid they are. And they could be doing that 15 years ago. They could be doing that. It's again, just staggers me. Staggers me. I'll show you. So yeah, I rambled on and on and on, but I'm just excited. You know, more of the same, but different. You know, better, cleaner, crisper, more smooth. See, look, leaving the playable area. Shit. I don't want any of that. So I'm interested how they manage the map. Whether or not they have boats. Whether or not they just do this. They just put the bar there and say you can't go that far. And what sort of music? Because I want one thing I'll say. Dead Island doesn't really... It has its iconic music is Sam B and he's rapping. So who do you voodoo bitch? Basically. And then in Riptide... you got that mission where the music is blaring, and I really enjoyed that. And then you have the ambient music in around here in the open area, and also at the lifeguard tower. And I think the ambient music at the hub locations is awful. One of the things I absolutely despise about the original Dead Island, this game I'm playing right now, I love this game, but I do despise the ambient music and have to turn it off because at the lifeguard tower, it's so depressing. It's so depressing. It's just I hate it. I hate it. Everything that's part of me. You have to turn it off if you want to play the game long term. Is my opinion. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe you managed to get around that, but it's my opinion. Can't be wrong. But yeah, that's one of the things. I really don't like negative tones in any game, to be frank, unless it's totally justified and you have an uplifting transformation from there to positivity. Oh, I've talked for a while. But it's one of the things I do want to see from this Dead Island 2 is that you're a badass. You're enjoying the LA. You're enjoying killing zombies. It's cool. You can roll with it. You're not worried about it. You're not scared.
Anything good in here?
Some metal brass knuckles. And then revamping the weapon customization. Oh, let's run over to the thing I'll show you. But I do think the customization in the originals and Riptide is really... I think it's good. Because you can have the different elements on each weapon. And they work. And I feel like... And they work for the melee weapon. And the ranged weapons as well, which is something that comes into late game, especially in Riptide, and you just absolutely obliterate with the shotgun with an element on it. It's absolutely insane how much damage you do. But it's something other games can't replicate, which is very strange to me. Because I'll give you an example. So Atomic Heart comes out, and they've got these stupid freaking elemental mod pack things they strap onto the weapon that run out. And I'm like, what? You got this old game here. I don't have enough money. Ridiculous. Where this old last game, you can have any element on these. And it's just, I just felt like that was just a needless bullcrap. Needless bullcrap. So we had the blueprints and you had to find them in the world. I do like that. I don't know if they'll stick with that system. It's sort of similar to Dead Rising, to be real. Finding the blueprints in the world and then you can build the items, or it's just the first time you build them you get a blueprint. This one you have to find the blueprint. You can't just build them with the ingredients off of that, which I don't mind if they switch it up, but I'll be interested to see how they divvy them out, whether they do really hold them back early on, or do they give you the tricks, the best weapons, some good weapons, not the best weapons at the start. Because I feel like there's lots of games. I'd say a good example here is Hogwarts Legacy holds back some of its better spells until, 10 hours, 12 hours, or, depending how fast you go, 6 hours, 7 hours. And I feel like it's a detriment to those that are on the fence about continuing if they're not, a fan of the series. And sometimes you got to give people something. But whether or not you give them the best weapon in the game and they can go through the whole game with it, Dark Souls style, whatever, I don't know about that. But just giving them a chance to make something, even if it's a little bit out of the way, and they go, oh, I can make... the Deathstalker mod, if I just go out and get all these parts. Floater meat. Can't even get floater meat. You have to buy it. I'm joking. But yeah, it's kind of... I do like the system. I like the upgrade system. I know they'll change it completely. It'll be totally different. Probably. But I did love this. This is... For some games, they don't want you to repair your weapons. They want you to just move on to the next one. But I feel like Dead Island didn't put that pressure on, and I like that. So that's just, the questing, you didn't have to do it in time. They didn't say, you got to get it done now. No, that's just, this is the mission and you can do it at your pace. And you had some instances where, events happened in the second game, a bit more defense sort of situations and things. But I enjoyed them. So, I've talked a lot. I love this series. I've waited a long time for this second game. But I'm too scared to pre-order it. I just can't. I've been let down before. And I won't open my heart up like that again. Yeah, but yeah. Tell me what you think. I've talked for twice the length of the bloody video. But they showed a lot of stuff that was not too crazy. Again, similar to the first game, but at the same time, it just looked much nicer. It was one of the things I talk about, I suppose, is there was no running zombies. They only showed the normal walking zombies, and I wanted to see more running ones, sprinting ones at you, because I feel like the sprinting zombies are really important, particularly the pacing of the combat encounters. When you beat a couple of dudes and suddenly you hear a scream in the distance and they run at you. I think that sort of sets the scene for, there's no, I can just walk around here and then, I killed that guy there, and then he's dead, and then
asshole.
and so you suddenly have this, you know. So you want the danger. You want the, oh my goodness, I was just killing this guy on the beach. When suddenly, oh my god, they're running right at me. So, and that works well in multiplayer as well, I think. It's something that, Left 4 Dead came up with the notion of, that you should have zombies that just sprint at you. And just, they had the whole game based on that, really. But I like it. That variation in speed, not all of them are sprinters, but just having some, really sort of sends that unease. That, now, whether or not they could have them show up more regularly or more inconsistently, I think would be better. Again, that's where Left 4 Dead's wildly superior with the Game Master system, but that's not worth going too far into. But something similar in terms of randomness. I feel like the randomness, or just an option for that. Because again, I memorized, every location of every zombie in this entire game. But it's not that big. It's not that hard to do because they don't really move anywhere. And again, it's just, you do your habits, you play through the game, and there they are. I still get startled, and in some situations they still go, and they still get me. But I'd like a little bit more options. Is always, I think, is a positive thing. So, your New Game Plus, it changes the locations of the zombies, or it makes the sprinters twice as many of them, or they come from different directions, that sort of thing. Things like that, I think, are really important. But I do like, I suppose on the flip side of that, I do like that you can clear an area for a time, and when you come back, that some of them respawn, not all of them. So these guys didn't respawn; those ones did though. So I don't mind that. I wouldn't mind, like, you can just be random which ones respawn or whether they respawn at all, and then whether they can clear an area. I don't think it's kind of that big argument. I think with like Dead Rising is a great example. It's because you kill thousands and thousands of zombies in the mall. But then you're like, well, maybe there shouldn't be any zombies left in the mall. I killed them all. But would the game be any good if you got rid of all the zombies? Or do you need to have that kind of, they broke in again, and you sort of justify the lack of zombies by reintroducing them into the environment on a periodic basis? It's something, again, we probably won't have that depth in a zombie game ever, maybe, which would be kind of sad. But the horde movement, I think, around the world, bloody beach is still out, in the Walking Dead series, I really liked that, but at the same time I felt like it was underused in a way that it should really shift, like, everyone. And we're not talking, tens of thousands of zombies, we're talking hundreds of thousands of zombies. And it shifts everyone, forces everyone. So there's a cataclysmic event following the cataclysmic event of the post-apocalyptic zombie wonderland. But, it's, I think, interesting to think about and theorize and talk about where zombie games are going. Because, so Dead Island 2 isn't a revolution. So I hope that, when people do the reviews when the game comes out, I'm going to see a lot of this. Oh, it's just a bit better, or maybe it's a new thing, and like, it's fun again, it's great fun, as all the same sort of rhetoric you'll get. Or it's, they'll have bugs and glitches, and people will say it's terrible and canned and all that sort of stuff. And so it should have been delayed for longer or anything like that. It'll have PC optimization issues, because everything in the world has PC optimization issues, because everyone's running a different PC. But there's sort of core, I think, that might be ignored, that I think where they should go in the future with zombie games. Whether I really freaking wanted Rockstar to take it, because I know they've experimented that in that direction before with Red Dead, the Red Redemption Deadness, Zombieland. But I kind of feel, again, you had the locational zombies and things like that. You didn't have the movement, the greater movement of zombies and the greater movement of the world, and whether an open world game can really translate a feeling of being part of a larger, even larger world, and having the ramifications bear fruit in terms of the movement of people and the movement of things. And I just don't know. It should come one day. I'm hoping it will with the Unreal Engine 5 or even 6. They should have grander games, because I do feel like at the minute we sort of put a ceiling on things. We haven't quite gone, wait a second, things can be even bigger in a way that it's not trivial. It's just, oh my goodness, there is a world. Because I think we don't quite reach that sort of level. And again, zombie games are, in their narrow focus, certainly ones that could look a little bit wider. But we'll see how it goes. I wonder if we'll have a customizable hub area. I very much doubt it, but you never know. In Dead Island 2, you could have a safe spot, which could be, in a hotel or in an apartment or on a boat, on a cruise, like a yacht in the bay, in the bay. On the coast, you could have, you could take all the stuff from Grand Theft Auto 5 and just chuck it in there. The super yachts, your own submarines, thinking of giant like zombie whales or something that attack it, or zombie sharks. And you could have the buddy chuck in a goddamn tornado. Imagine a tornado in Dead Island comes across, the Sharknado, zombie Sharknado. There's I feel there's so much more weird things that can be explored. So many weird ideas. And I got no shortage of them. Whether or not they're easy to implement, obviously not. But at the same time, there's games with tornadoes. There are games with tornadoes. And then, Battlefield 2042 had one, and they didn't have any zombies in it, or any sharks. That's why it didn't work. I think Just Cause did a good job with their tornado, so I'm happy with stealing that one. A bit more stealing would be good. But yeah, I've talked for ages. Why do I keep talking? I keep talking because it's important. It's the thing that matters to me. And if you're still here listening, thank you very much. A bit nasally. Tell me what you think in the comments. Write an essay. It's close. It's close. It's almost here. I can hardly believe it. I still can't believe it. I'll believe it when it's out. Don't pre-order it, just in case. You're going to get a lot of people buying on day one. They'll be like, oh my goodness, lots of people didn't pre-order, but lots of people buying it on day one. We thought many people didn't want to play it. And then they haven't whether the server's ready, multiplayer won't work properly, or something. That's another thing. Multiplayer worked well, for the most part. Except, again, the balancing, and everyone's just wailing on dudes, and it's 4 people just obliterating everything. I still like the feeling, though. Again, they could improve that sort of stuff. Hopefully they do improve that. Just stop with the water. The way to sort of, the ease and all that sort of functionality and that sort of thing. It is always good how you can play online mode and people can jump in, but it's just, I feel like you need to be able to have a little writing description on your game and go, yes, you can jump in. No, I'm not clearing every area or doing every side quest. I am just doing the main missions. or vice versa. And then everyone has to join. Everyone has to go to the teleport to the objective to do the next mission. I feel like that's something that it really hurt Dying Light 2. Was that everyone had to go to teleport to the circle for the next main quest, when they could have just skipped. You should be able to skip the quest dialogue and just move on and just be so much quicker. The flow. I hope they don't make the same mistake and go, oh, everyone has to go into the circle. No. Just freaking skip it. Or just trigger it for the main person. Everyone else is sort of just waiting for them to end that cutscene. And they can still walk around and they're free. Because the whole sucking everyone into the cutscene, for people who've already beaten the game, it's just a massive waste of time. It's just I'll watch it all again. And for games like these, watching them multiple times in a row is never a good thing. But yeah, that's my little additional rant there. We'll see. That's a big problem, though. I know they probably won't address it, which is kind of drives me up the wall and hurt Dying Light 2 bad. Hurt him bad. I hope. And just the amount of conversations in Dying Light 2 was just a bit excessive. And it just, especially early on, it felt like they just do way too much. Again, they're trying to create characters instead of story, but they did a shit job with the characters, so what does it matter? The only characters that matter in Dead Island are the playable ones. And then, my boy. Our boat, legendary boatman. Who else is good? Oh, your buddies in Riptide are good. They're your vendors. Oh, Chimamanda. Chimamanda, she's good. Best cheesing strap for leveling in Riptide. It's absolutely the canned food. Canned food is all we have here. God damn, it's burned into my brain. Yeah, the medkits is not bad either. But yeah. It's been Frosty 10. Rambling on and on about Dead Island 2 while playing Dead Island 1, showing you that the game it's improving a bit, but it's not an incredible massive shift. It's just that it's more what we want, you know? People don't realise that. Sometimes you just want more. What worked. You don't have to reinvent it too much, but it's just respect for the past. It's just, yeah. I hope he can have a fat character. I don't like how games sort of exclude fat people. But, you know, is what it is. Will Sam be in the next one? I hope he is. I hope his song plays in the background. I know we had the album in Dying Light 2 at the start, so I'm not sure if they own or Techland, whether they own that little right, whether we don't get the nostalgia. Could have used a lot more nostalgia through the game, to be honest. I feel like that area was so much stronger than the rest of the game in some ways with Dying Light 2. It's weird. Once you go into the walls of the facility and then it's just half of it's covered in an acid floor, it's like, it's so disappointing at that. It's like, why? Whatever. Yeah, okay. I'll sign off. This has been Frosty10 rambling. Ramble in the comments. I'll be happy to read them. Like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll be playing it. I'll stream it when it comes out. I'll play it on day one. We'll see how it goes. I'm cautiously excited. Yeah. Yeah. All my challenges were lost from stupid losing my saves. Alright then. Yeet! I'll catch you all next time. Bye bye.